Hi, my name is Aya and you're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to talk about all the series that I'm in the middle of. And for your information, I'm in the middle of 57 series. So that's a lot. So I'm just gonna go through them. I've split them up in 3 categories. The first one is series that I'm technically still in the middle of, but I have finished every single book that is out so far. The author has yet to publish the rest of the series. So those are just 8 out of the 57, by the way. So it's the smallest, I believe it's the smallest category. The next category are the series that I am not caught up on yet, but the series is also not finished yet. So with some of them, I have reasons as to why I've decided to not get caught up on them, but some of them I don't truly. And then the last category and the biggest one, and the one that brings me the most shame, is the series that I'm still in the middle of, so I have not caught up on them yet, and the series has finished. Once I get caught up on the series, that means I also have a series finished. So that is the biggest category, and we'll get to that last. So let's actually start with the series that I'm all caught up on. I have 9 of those. And actually, the way I'm talking about these is in the order of when I started the series, so that should be very interesting. So the first one is Saga. The authors are still writing this series. They took a big break and they just started picking it up again. So I've been reading Saga for a very long time now and I'm still enjoying it. So yes, I will definitely be reading the next volume once that comes out. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is one of my favorite series. Sarah J. Maas is one of my favorite authors, and I have read everything she wrote so far in the ACOTAR series. I don't know when the next book is gonna come out. She has not even announced a book yet in this series. She has announced a book in the Crescent City world, so that's gonna be the next book that comes out. So I don't know if and when we're getting a next book in this series, but she has not said that the series has finished yet. So I guess I'm gonna be waiting with bated breath to see when the next book's gonna come out. Once this book comes out, I will be reading it the day it comes out, probably. The Girl Meets Duke series by Tessa Dare, the first one being The Duchess Deal. So she's been writing the 4th book for years now. It keeps getting pushed back, so I don't know when it will be published. I do know that she's still working on it because I saw that she said so on Twitter, so I guess she's still writing. But yeah, I read the first 3, love them, and I will be reading the 4th one when it comes out. I believe it's also going to be the last book in that series. The Villain series by V.E. Schwab. This used to be a duology, I think. So I've read the first 2. She has said that she's going to continue writing. I don't know if the 3rd book has been announced yet, but I did really enjoy, especially the first one, but I did also really like the 2nd one. So I will read the 3rd one when it comes out. Oh yeah, if you have not noticed yet, since I have 57 book series to talk about, I'm not going to tell you the synopsis for all of them. If you want to know, you can just look them up on Goodreads, or you can ask me in the comments below and I will answer you. Immortals After Dark, I actually got caught up on this series this year. I really love it. She just announced 2 new books coming out in 2023, which is going to be a novella, and in 2024, which is going to be a full book. So yeah, I'm going to be reading those as soon as possible, as soon as they come out. I will be rereading some of the books. She has mentioned when in which books these characters show up. So either I'm just going to read those books or I'm going to reread the entire series. I don't know. It's 18 books, 18 or 19 books. So it's going to be a giant commitment if I do decide to reread all of them, but I do really love it. So we'll see. The X-Hex by Erin Sterling. I really, really love the X-Hex. The 2nd book, it was not really my favorite. I did enjoy it for what it was, but I didn't love it as much as the first one. The 3rd and final book comes out this year in October, I believe, so I will be reading that and finishing off the series. The Tempting Monsters trilogy by Catherine Moon. So I read the first 2, and the 3rd one comes out this month in July, actually. So I also have a novella to read, so I'm gonna be reading both those books this month, hopefully, and have another series finished this month. Spy Family, this is a manga series that I started this year and also got caught up on. The 10th English volume comes out at the end of the year, so I'll be reading that as soon as it's available for me. And last but most certainly not least is a book that I'm actually in the middle of, but I do anticipate that I'll finish it today or tomorrow, and it's Fourth Wing. So far, everything I've read, I really loved. So this is just one book, and there's not another one, so I immediately got caught up on this series. And I have not finished it yet, but I do anticipate that I'll love the second half as much as I love the first half. The second book comes out at the end of the year, so I will be reading that as soon as possible. Okay, on to the next category, series that I'm still in the middle of, but the series has not finished yet. The first one, I am debating just DNFing, and it's the Amulet series. This is a middle grade graphic novel series I read a long time ago, and I believe I just read the first 2 volumes. Let me just actually check and see. Yeah, the first 2. I believe there are 6 or 7 out so far. I just checked on Goodreads and I did see that there's another one in the works that has not been published yet. I don't know. If I continue on, I still have to, like, I would have to reread the first 2, which is not a big deal, but I own the first 3 at least. So maybe one day I'll just reread the first 2, read the third one, and see if it's a series that I'm still interested in. But so far, like right now in my heart, nothing in me is compelling it to pick it up. Obviously, because it has been on my shelves for a very long time. A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin. What do I need to say about this series? I've only read the first book, and then I was just so into the show that I did not continue. And now, one giant thing that's holding me back is that he has not published anything in this series for such a long time. So that is really what's keeping me from continuing on. Having said that, I do really miss watching Game of Thrones. So maybe I should just reread the Game of Thrones and continue on with this series. Especially since the disaster that was the last 2 seasons. I kind of want to love this series again. The Witchlands series by Susan Dennard, the first one being Truth Witch. I've only read the first 2 books in this series and I did really enjoy them, but I never continued on for some reason. Once again, if I want to continue on with this series, I have to reread the first 2 books. I don't know, maybe because this series is not as hyped as a lot of series on my list, it just maybe prevented me from continuing on. It is still on my series I'm in the middle of for a reason, so part of me does want to continue on. I just need to make a plan and actually do it. The next one I'm really ashamed of. It's on my wall of shame, and it's Crescent City. So I've only read the first book, House of Earth and Blood. I have not yet read House of Sky and Breath, and I'm very ashamed. The reason being is when the second book came out, I was in a giant reading slump. So I actually tried reading it over and over and over again. I just could not get into it, so I just put it aside. Then I decided, I really need to reread the first one because I've forgotten a lot. And right around the time I was planning on rereading the first one, she announced the third one coming out the beginning of 2024. So then that's when I decided to just, instead of rereading it now and having to reread it again at the end of the year, let's just put it off and reread Crescent City somewhere at the beginning of fall, and then, or reread House of Earth and Blood somewhere in the beginning of fall, and then read House of Sky and Breath for the first time at the end of 2023, so that I'm all caught up on when the third book comes out. So I'm begging you, I know I have not been spoiled yet for the second book, and I'm begging you, please don't spoil me. In just a couple of months, hopefully I'll have finally read it and be all caught up, and then hopefully I can actually read the third one and get caught up on the series as a whole. Touch of Taboo by Katie Robert. This is actually the fourth one, and I've only read the first one and the fourth one in this series. I know that she has some ideas for other books in the series, but she's just prioritizing other series. So I'm not really in a hurry. Plus, these are all just standalone novellas, so you don't actually need to read them in order, and you're fine. Like, I don't need to reread the first one to continue on with the second one. That's fine. So I guess I'm just saving them for a rainy day. These are always a good time. They're very smutty and hot. The Black Dagger Brotherhood by J.R. Ward. So I've only read the first one, and this was not really my favorite. I believe I gave it 3 stars. I do know that a lot of people's favorite books are like the second, third, and fourth one, I believe. So yes, I do know that I need to reread this one before getting into the other ones. And this is a giant series, and I know that she just keeps writing them. And I do know that the last ones are not really a lot of people's favorites, so that is kind of what's putting me off a little bit, because I know, for example, the Immortals After Dark series, that is a giant series, but at least everybody is still loving them. There were some parts I really enjoyed, mainly like the whole Brotherhood aspect. Still on my list of series I really want to get caught up on. The Wraith Kings series, I read Radiance a while ago, and I was just planning on just seeing it as a standalone and not continue on, because I did feel like that book was a nice standalone. But she did write a sequel, and then she wrote a companion novel. It's still on my list. I will read it one day. I haven't yet. The Bridge Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen. There's actually two big reasons why I didn't get caught up yet. I read the first two, so it's a this series actually 3 duologies, and every duology focuses on a different couple. So I actually finished Lara and Aaron's story, and then the second duology focuses on her brother, and she releases them on audio first, and then I believe they have to be exclusively on audio for 6 months before the actual book is released. And I can't really get into audiobooks, especially fantasy audiobooks. That's kind of why I waited. Now, the second book in the second duology is coming out at the end of the year. So I think my plan is to just reread the first duology in the Bridge Kingdom and then read the second duology just back to back. I think that's my plan for now. I do really love this series, and I do very much have high hopes for her brother's story as well. Yeah, basically like the way it's released is kind of the reason why I have not picked it up. I haven't continued yet. Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. This one I haven't finished yet, or I haven't caught up on yet, because I just started it this year and I'm taking my time with it. I think I'll read the 3rd volume this month. So I'm just slowly making my way through this series. Same reason for the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver. I read Flawless in June, and I read Heartless this month, actually, finished it. Really enjoying this series, and I'm just slowly making my way through it. I believe she's planning on releasing the 5th and I think final book for this series at the end of the year, so I still have time to get caught up on it. And last but most certainly not least is the Nashville Neighborhood series. I only read the 4th one because that is the one that excited me most. I know the 5th one comes out in August, and I'm also really interested in that one. So it is on my list. I probably will get caught up on it this year. I don't know if the 5th one is actually her last one, not sure. So either I'll finish the series this year or get caught up on it this year. Last category are series that I have started, have not finished, but the series has finished. And basically the first ones are the ones I'm most ashamed of, and the one that is very high up on my wall of shame is City of Bones. I cannot even tell you how many times I've reread these first 3 books in order to continue on, and just something in me just does not want to continue on. I do know why this is not my favorite series. I don't think it's ever going to be my favorite series, but since I'm such a completionist, I need to finish this series before I can continue on with the rest of her series. I know I love some books by Cassandra Clare. I love the Infernal Devices. So I just need to get my butt in gear and just finally finish this series. And I think I'm just going to do it without rereading the first 3 because I'm over that. I've already reread them so many times. I think I'm just going to read the recaps for the first 3 books, then just intersperse the last 3 books with the Infernal Devices the way she actually published them, because I do feel like that is a good incentive for me to continue on. But yeah, I cannot believe that this still is in my series that I still need to finish. I had the goal to finish this years ago. I actually don't have any plans to finish it this year. Hopefully I actually will. I don't know. If I don't finish it this year, then definitely it's a high priority for me to finish it in 2024. The Blood of Eden series by Julie Kagawa. I really loved the Immortal Rules when I first read it. In fact, I loved it so much that I bought the next 2 books in this series, actually buying the hardback of the 3rd one because I was so convinced that I was going to finish it that I did not wait for the paperback for it to match. And I still have not read it yet. So I could have just waited years and years and years and just bought the last one in paperback. Anyway, this is just a trilogy. But then again, a lot of series I still need to finish are trilogies, and I cannot, like, I don't have any excuses, so I'm just gonna move on. Snow Like Ashes. I think, so this one I read the first one when I was still making Booktube videos the first time around, and I made a friend through Booktube who worked at a bookstore, and she had an arc of either the second or the third one, and yet I still didn't read the arc. I did not continue on with the series. I only read the first one, and I actually don't know if I'm still gonna love it after all these years. I read it pretty soon after it came out, actually, so let me see when it came out. 2014, yeah. I either read it in 2014 or 2015, and I have not continued on. The Wicked series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I've only read the first one, Wicked, but I did really enjoy it. And when I read it, I think it was years before she published the second one, and then I just forgot everything about the first one, so it's still on my list. Jennifer L. Armentrout, I used to love her more than I do now, but this is one of her series that I still have an interest in finishing. Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I read Cinder. I was not as enamored by it as everybody else was at the time, which is one of the reasons why I didn't finish it, but I did buy every single book that is out in the series. And I do know that a lot of people really love the second and third book, I believe. I would need to reread this one before continuing on. An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. I remember really, really loving the first book, and once again, never continued on. I only read An Ember in the Ashes. The entire series is out. I know it's a lot of people's favorite series. I actually bought the special edition Fairy Loot because I wanted them to match. But yeah, once again, have not finished it yet. Illuminae. I read the first one, did not continue on. My goal this year is to actually read this series and also listen to the audiobooks. I also bought all the audiobooks for this series. This is a pretty easy series to finish because it's all mixed media, and I did enjoy the first one, and I don't foresee any problems finishing this trilogy. Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. When I first read The Final Empire, I was in the middle of a reading slump, so I did not love this book as much as a lot of other people did, and then after that, like, that reading slump really went on for a while, so I never really got a chance to continue on. And part of me just really wanted to reread the first one to really love it as much as other people did. So I wanted to read it when I wasn't in a reading slump. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I was debating whether or not I should just leave The Hate You Give as a standalone and leave it at that. But the second book is the story of her father in this book. And I remember really, really loving her dad in the first book. So that's why it's still on my series that I'm in the middle of. Three Dark Crowns by Kendar, or what's it called? Yeah, the Three Dark Crowns series. I believe it has 4 books. And I remember enjoying the first one. And I actually bought the second one. I don't know what to say about these books now. I just keep repeating myself. Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. When I first read this book, the entire trilogy was already out. I already owned all of them. Please don't ask me why I didn't just finish it right then and there, because now I would need to reread it in order to finish it. I am thinking of doing a series on my channel of like Booktube Rewind, where I read and finish a series or a standalone of a book that was hyped or a series that was hyped years ago on Booktube. So this would fit into it. Definitely let me know if you'd be interested in that. So if I were to do it, this one would definitely be on that list. Dance of Thieves. Actually, I am making my way on finishing this book because or finishing this duology. It's only 2 books. I only need to read and finish the last one, but I really wanted to reread The Kiss of Deception, which is the prequel to this duology. I started my reread for that trilogy, so once I reread the Kiss of Deception trilogy and reread Dance of Thieves, then I can finally read and finish Vow of Thieves. The Penryn and the End of Days trilogy by Susan E. Yeah, I was just checking to see if I was in the right order. This one was actually a Booktube challenge video where I watched an old TBR of mine, and then I had to read the books that I had not read in that TBR. This was one of them. And I remember really enjoying it. So once again, I read it once the entire trilogy was out. And I did really love it, yet I did not continue on. Once again, if I were to do the Booktube Rewind, this would definitely be a trilogy I would read for that one. The Winternight Trilogy by Catherine Arden. This I read, and I did not love it as much as other people did. I found it slow and boring, yet A part of me just can't let it go because I do see the appeal. I do understand why a lot of people love it. So I do want to reread it and continue on because I do already own the second book. And if I reread it and on reread I also find that it's slow and boring, then I'm just DNFing the series. Same is a little bit true for The Cruel Prince. I read it and I could not really understand what the hype was about. But once again, a lot of people really love it and it is my kind of story, like the whole hate to love, enemies to lovers, still having sex with each other even though you're still enemies. I eat that shit up. So that's why I never DNF this trilogy. This once again would be a great contender for the Booktube Rewind series I want to do. So definitely let me know, out of all of them, which one would you like me to read first and vlog first? Fables, let me see. I only read the first volume. This is a graphic novel or a comic series with a lot of volumes. I did enjoy the first one. I think the reason why I didn't continue on because the thought of buying all of them was daunting and also very expensive. So maybe that's why I was like, let me just stick to books for now as opposed to reading this giant comic series. The Thalian Dynasty by Katie Robert. So I read the first one. It was a prequel novella called Theirs for the Night. And I'm still debating with this series whether or not I want to continue on. Because when I first read this, MMF was not really my thing. But I did find this novella to be hot. But I was like, this is just a hot night. And I was not really interested in reading a book or a series with actually an MMF relationship. Now I am very much into MMF and I really want to read books where there's an actual MMF relationship. But I'm still debating whether or not this series is one for me because there's also royalty involved, which tends to not really be one of my favorite things. Plus, it is a series following just one couple, which once again, I don't tend to really love those series. So I'm still debating if this is still, I believe it's only two, no, that's not true. It is a longer series because it is this MMF relationship, but then the series continues on with a bunch of other books. So technically this is still on my list of series I need to finish, but I could just come on here next year and tell you that I've decided to DNF it. So I'm still debating with this one. Next is The Chambermaid, which is just a smutty novella about this chambermaid who has sex with a lot of people in the house where she's a chambermaid for. There is a second one out, which I have not read yet. The Kiss Quotient. I really love the first one, did not really love the second one, and I own the third one, so I just need to read the third one. I heard from a lot of people that it's more women's fiction than romance, but it has been on a bunch of TBRs for me this year, so hopefully I'll read it and finally finish this trilogy because it is a very easy one for me since it's only one book. The Daevabad Trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. I read City of Brass and I did not love it as much as other people did. Unfortunately, I tried reading it physically. I tried reading it on ebook. It was on script. I tried listening to it and nothing really worked for me. I did finish it in the end and there were some things I really loved about it. But for some reason, I ended up buying the entire trilogy. And I do know a lot of people love it. I do like the whole mythology behind it, the whole Egyptian mythology. So that's why it's still on my list. Maybe once again, I feel the same way with this one as I do the Winternight Trilogy. Maybe it was just a case of me reading it at the wrong time. And when I reread it at the right time, it might be one of my favorite trilogies. But I have no idea when I'm going to get around to actually finishing it. The Planet of Desire series. I read the first two, really enjoyed them. I only need to read the next two. These I fly through, so I should be able to finish this series this year if I get around to it. The Archived by Victoria Schwab. I read the first one and the second one, it is only a duology. I do know that there was potential to continue on with this series, but her publisher didn't want her to because she was not as popular as she is now. I did like it. It was not my favorite thing in the world, so there's a part of me that thinks just leave this as a standalone and don't continue on. Because I'm starting to forget a lot of things about this book, which means I'd have to reread it, and I don't know if it's worth the trouble for me. Definitely let me know if you've read this and the second book. Do you think it's worth it for me to continue on, or should I just DNF it? I'm fine either way. The Mackenzies and McBride series. A lot of people really love The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie, and I really liked it, but I did not love it as much as other people did. Plus, this series is giant. But I do know, like, I'm very interested in the second book and the fourth book. So I'm still debating. I will continue on. I'm just debating, should I reread The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie? Maybe if I reread it, it's going to be one of my favorites. But it's also like very long. So I don't know what to do. Whether or not I'll just read the first four. It would obviously really depend on how much I'm loving the rest of the series. But yeah, it's still on my... I am planning on continuing on. I just have not yet. Probably because it's very intimidating, such a long series. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. These books are on Scribd, so I don't know why I have not continued on. I did enjoy the first book, so this is actually high priority for me to actually finish this year. The Castles Ever After series by Tessa Dare. I believe they're on my TBR for this month. So if I don't get around to it this month, I'll definitely continue on in August. So once again, high priority, we'll finish it this year. The Green Creek series by TJ Klune. This is difficult for me because Wolfsong is one of my favorite books of all time. But when I started Wolfsong, or actually so around the time when I read Wolfsong, these books got picked up by a publisher and now they're releasing them one every year. So the second book of this one actually comes out in August. So technically this series is finished, yet it has not been published. All of them have not been published yet. Again, I can read them on ebook, but the ebooks are astronomically expensive for some reason. I don't know why. So I'm debating. So I just decided to wait for Ravensong to be published, which will be published in August, so next month. And then I'm just going to see after Ravensong. If I am just like dying to continue on, I'll just read them on ebook then. Or I'll just wait until they're published. I don't know why they're only being published one every single year. It has already been written. So he doesn't need to write them again. So I'm just confused. But yeah, so this is kind of out of my control. I do believe that if I could have gotten my hands on the indie published series, I would have probably finished it by now. Also, I'm really debating on rereading it because, like I said, it's one of my favorite series, or it's one of my favorite books. But for some reason, even though I've read it, I think 2 years ago, I do remember a lot of things vividly. So maybe I don't need to, but I really want to. But yeah, Ravensong I will read in August for sure. The Loser series by Harley LaRue. So when I first read The Dare, this was just a standalone novella. She did not, I don't think she had announced that she was going to have 2 giant books come out of this novella. But now both volumes are out and it is high priority for me. I do love The Dare and a lot of people really love Loser. So I do believe that I will love it too. The Born in Blood series by Cora Riley. This is a giant series and there's a spin-off that I also really want to read. So I don't know when I'll get to it, but I have decided there's a book that is written from Luca's perspective, so the hero's point of view. So I don't really want to reread Bound in Honor, but once I'm ready to continue on with this series, I'll just read his book. Because it's actually the same book, just from the hero's point of view. The Holiday series, I believe by Tara Sivich, I think. So I read The Stocking Was Hung and I really, really enjoyed it. I read The Pumpkin Was Stuffed first and I was just confused. Turns out this is a series following the same couple and I was starting with the 5th one, which that's why a lot of things didn't make sense to me. This is a series of just holiday novellas, like I said, following the same couple. I actually don't mind reading series about the holidays, not during the holidays. And like I said, I really did enjoy the first book. And I do like Tara Sivich as an author, so I just need to get my butt in gear and actually finish it. The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. It's only one book that I need to read, and that book has been on lots of TBRs this year. So it's just one of these days that I can actually pick it up. Hopefully this month, but there's a lot of books on my TBR for this month. And now that I've started my Booktube channel again, I have all these video ideas that keep getting in the way of this finishing series goal of mine. So I need to just be very strict for myself that books that I'm not reading for videos, I should just be these books, meaning trying to finish series. The Highland Laird series. The first one being The Secret. I really enjoyed The Secret and there's two other books, and the second book follows two characters that I really loved in the first one. I don't know why I have not continued on yet. I believe the second one is on script, so I don't even need to pay for it. The Underworld series by Sophie Lark. So I started this one this year, and it's a big series. I believe it's 8 books, and the first 2 were priority for me because I needed to read those to read the Kingmakers. But it's still a series I want to read and finish. So I still need to read 6 books for that series. The Hathaways by Lisa Kleypas. I read the first 2 and I really want to read the 4th one badly. So it's high priority for me. So I still need to read the 3rd one to get to the 4th one. I believe in my TBR, I told you guys that I really wanted to read this 3rd one and 4th one this month. Hopefully I can accomplish that. The Life Ship Traders. I'm currently reading the 3rd one, and I don't know, for some reason this trilogy is just not my favorite fantasy trilogy. I know a lot of people love it. I unfortunately am not one of them. So I'm slowly making my way through that 3rd book. So I'll either finish this series in July, and if not in July, then definitely August. The Fallen Trilogy. This is a series of novellas. I'm 100% gonna finish it this month. I only need to read 1 novella, so the only reason it's on here is because I've not gotten to it this month yet. The Hellions of Havisham. I started this trilogy last month, and it's a finished trilogy, so it's on my list of definitely priority ones. Because I don't know if I said this, but all the series I started this year, I am prioritizing that I'm actually finishing them this year as well, so I can avoid what happened in the past where I just read the first one and it takes me years to get around to the second one, which means I have to reread the first one. So I really want to avoid that this year, so that's why I'm prioritizing the series that I started this year. And then last is Full Metal Alchemist. I read the first volume. I was not a big fan, but I do own the second one. So that is kind of going to determine whether or not it's going to be a series I'm going to finish or a series I'm going to DNF. I tried looking up the manga, or the anime, I'm sorry, and the only anime that was on Netflix or that I could stream was not the one I wanted. I wanted the Brotherhood because that one is apparently closely aligned to the manga, and I'd have to buy them on DVD, and I'm not sure I'm that invested in the series. So I don't know. Hopefully I'll love the second volume, because if I do, then I can continue on. Whew. We're done. Those were let me check, the 57 series that I am in the middle of. I was going to tell you my count for every single one of them. So I have 9 series that I'm all caught up on, 11 series that I'm not caught up on yet, but the series not finished yet, and 37 series that I haven't finished, but that are finished. So I could finish them if I got my butt in gear and actually did that. So yeah, those were a lot of series. Definitely, I really would like your help with prioritizing these series. So definitely let me know in the comments below, of all the series that I'm not caught up on yet, which one of them would you like me, A, to prioritize, and B, if you'd like me to vlog any of them, then definitely let me know. And also, what would really help if you could just tell me which ones were not worth it, so that maybe I could DNF them. So those were a lot of questions. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you have any series that are on your wall of shame that you've been reading for years and have not finished yet. I would love to know. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.